Simpler. What if I told you the most attractive people in the room are often the quietest, not the loudest voice, not the flashiest lifestyle, but the ones who carry something deeper, something powerful, something silent, because real attraction isn't about being noticed, it's about being remembered. Control your emotions to show inner strength, because the real battle is not outside, it is within. Anyone can react when things go wrong. Anyone can raise their voice when they feel disrespected. Anyone can let anger take control in a moment of pressure, but very few people have the discipline to pause, to breathe, and to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. Simpler. There are moments in life when your patience will be tested in ways you never expected. People will misunderstand you, situations will frustrate you, and sometimes you will feel like everything is slipping out of your control. In those moments, your emotions will demand immediate reaction, but your character will demand restraint. And this is where true strength is revealed, not in how loudly you respond, but in how deeply you control what you feel, because anger is easy. Silence is hard. Reaction is easy. Discipline is rare. Losing control is natural. Mastering yourself is a choice you see. Every time you allow your emotions to control you, you give away a part of your power. But every time you hold back, every time you choose patience over anger, you reclaim that power and build something inside you that cannot be shaken. Simpler. There is a quiet dignity in a person who remains calm when chaos surrounds them, a person who does not let insults define their behavior, a person who understands that not every battle is worth fighting, and not every word deserves a response. And there is a deeper truth, one that touches the soul. In faith, self-control is not just a personal skill, it is a form of Arabektan, Arabekba, Arabektalef, 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 Arabektalef. It is a reflection of trust in Allah, a sign that you believe He sees your struggle. Even when others do not, when you hold back your anger for the sake of what is right, when you choose patience when your heart is burning, when you forgive when it would be easier to retaliate, you are not losing, you are rising, because Allah loves those who restrain their anger and show patience, even when they have the right to react. And every moment of control, every silent decision to stay calm becomes a reward that no one else can see but Him. Simpler. Think about the times you reacted in anger, how heavy it felt afterward, how regret slowly replaced that temporary relief. Now think about the moments you stayed silent when you controlled yourself, when you chose dignity over drama. Those are the moments that built your strength, your respect, your inner peace. Your emotions are powerful, but they were never meant to control you. They were given to you as a test. Will you follow them blindly, or will you rise above them? Because a person who cannot control their emotions becomes a prisoner of every situation, but a person who masters them becomes free, unshaken by opinions, untouched by negativity, and guided by purpose rather than impulse. Simpler. And when you reach that level, when your calmness becomes your default response, when your patience becomes your identity, when your silence carries more weight than arguments ever could, you begin to feel a different kind of strength growing inside you. One that people may not always understand, but will always respect in a world where everyone is trying to be heard. The rare individual is the one who chooses to speak only when it truly matters. People often talk to prove something, to impress someone, to make sure they are noticed, but the more you speak without purpose, the less your words are valued. There is a difference between noise and impact. Noise seeks attention. Impact creates respect. When you speak just to be seen, your words lose weight. But when you speak with intention, with clarity, with truth, people stop, listen, and remember, not every moment requires your opinion. Not every conversation needs your voice. Simpler. Sometimes silence carries more wisdom than 1,000 empty words, because when you hold your words back, you give them value. And when you finally speak, people understand that what you're about to say matters. Think about it. The people who talk the most are often heard the least. But the ones who speak carefully, who choose their words with discipline, who don't rush to respond, they command attention without asking for it. There is strength in restraint. There is power in patience. And there is something deeply dignified about a person who does not feel the need to prove themselves through constant talking from a deeper perspective. Your words are not just sounds, they are a responsibility. In faith, every word you speak is witnessed, recorded, and accounted for. This alone should make you pause before you speak, reflect before you respond, and choose truth over impulse. Simpler. When you speak with purpose, you avoid hurting others unnecessarily. When you speak with purpose, you avoid regret. When you speak with purpose, You align your words with integrity, and when you hold back words that are useless, negative, or harmful, that silence becomes an act of discipline, even a form of arabectine, arabecba, arabecalef, arabectala, arabectalef, arabectalef, arabectala, because you are choosing control over carelessness. There are moments when your ego will push you to speak to defend yourself, to win an argument, to have the last word, but not every victory is worth it. Sometimes the real strength lies in letting go, in staying silent, in protecting your peace instead of proving your point. Because words, once released, cannot be taken back. They leave marks on others and on you, and the person who understands this begins to treat speech with respect, with awareness, with intention. Simpler. When your words are few but meaningful, people begin to trust what you say when your voice is calm but firm. People begin to feel your presence. When your speech is guided by purpose, not attention, you become someone whose words carry weight, not noise. And slowly, without trying to impress anyone, you become the kind of person people listen to, not because you speak often, but because when you do, it matters. Anyone can show up once. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can make promises when emotions are high. But very few people have the discipline to show up again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, even when they don't feel like it. Consistency is where intentions are tested. Consistency is where character is revealed. Simpler. It's easy to talk about goals, to dream about a better life, to plan a new version of yourself, but the real transformation happens in the quiet moments no one sees. The early mornings when you choose discipline over comfort. The days when you feel tired but still continue. The moments when giving up feels easier, but you decide to keep going anyway. This is where quiet respect is built not in what you say, but in what you repeatedly do. People may ignore your words, but they observe your patterns. They notice who is reliable, who keeps their commitments, who remains steady even when life becomes unpredictable. And over time, without any announcement, respect begins to grow because consistency creates trust and trust creates value. There is something powerful about a person who does not rely on motivation, a person who has trained themselves to act regardless of how they feel, because feelings change, but discipline stays. Simpler. Some days you will feel inspired, other days you will feel empty, but consistency demands that you move forward. In both states, and that is what separates those who wish from those who achieve from a deeper perspective, consistency is not just a habit, it is a form of sincerity. In faith, actions are judged not only by their size, but by their regularity. Even small efforts, when done consistently, can lead to significant improvements. Become beloved because they reflect commitment and truth and intention. It's not about doing something big once it's about doing something small. Every single day, when you stay consistent, you begin to build a quiet confidence within yourself. You no longer depend on outside validation because you know what you are capable of. You trust yourself because you have proven again and again that you will not quit when things get difficult, and that self-trust becomes visible to others. People may not always praise you. They may not always acknowledge your effort, but they will feel your reliability. Simpler. They will see that you are not controlled by excuses. They will notice that you don't disappear when things get hard. They will understand that you are someone who can be counted on, and that is where quiet respect is born not from loud achievements, but from steady, unwavering discipline that speaks for itself. Because in the end, it is not what you start that defines you, it is what you continue. Long after the excitement has faded, most people don't actually stop growing because they lack ability. They stop because they are waiting to be noticed, waiting for someone to clap, to appreciate, to confirm that they are on the right path. And when that validation doesn't come, their effort begins to fade, but real growth was never meant to be performed for an audience. It is built in silence, it is shaped in private, it is strengthened in moments when no one is watching. Simpler. When you wake up and choose discipline without telling anyone, when you improve your habits without announcing it, when you work on your mindset without seeking praise, that is where transformation becomes real. Because when validation becomes your fuel, inconsistency becomes your pattern. You work when people are watching, and you stop when they are not. But when purpose becomes your fuel, something changes. You no longer need to be seen. To keep going, you no longer depend on others to feel worthy. You move because you understand where you are going, not because someone is cheering for you. There is a quiet strength in a person who is self-driven, a person who is improving not to impress, but to become. Simpler. From a deeper perspective, this kind of growth carries sincerity. In faith, the most valuable actions are those done purely for the right reasons, not for recognition. When you work on yourself without showing off, When you correct your flaws without seeking attention, you are building self-confidence. When you strive to become better knowing that Allah sees what people do not, your effort gains a meaning that goes far beyond temporary praise, because people's approval is unstable. It changes with opinions, moods, and circumstances. But when your intention is rooted in something higher, your consistency becomes unshakable. There will be days when no one notices your effort, days when your progress feels invisible, days when it seems like your work is going unrecognized. And in those moments, your mind will question, what's the point? But the point is not recognition. The point is transformation. Simpler. Every small improvement you make is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. Even if no one applauds it, it is building a version of you that will eventually stand out without trying, because true growth does not need advertisement. It reveals itself over time. The way you think changes, the way you react changes, the way you carry yourself changes, and people begin to notice something different about you. Even if they cannot explain it, that is the power of silent improvement. You are no longer chasing attention. You are becoming someone who naturally earns respect. And when you reach that level, you realize something important. The validation you were once seeking from others was never as valuable as the self-respect you build within yourself through consistent, unseen effort. Many people lose themselves not because they are weak, but because they are too available, too willing to say yes, too afraid to disappoint others, too quick to sacrifice their own peace just to keep everyone around them comfortable. But every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are saying no to something that could build you. Time is not just hours and minutes. Energy is not just physical strength. They are your life, your focus, your direction. And when you allow people, distractions, and unnecessary obligations to consume them without limit, you slowly lose control over who you are becoming. There is a painful truth in this. The more you tolerate misuse of your time, the less it is respected. People will take as much as you allow. Not always because they are bad, but because you never showed them where the limit is. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting what matters within you. It takes courage to say no. It takes strength to walk away. It takes self-respect to choose yourself. When everything around you demands your attention, your heart will feel it. That moment when you want to agree just to avoid conflict, when you want to stay just to avoid being misunderstood, when you want to give more even though you are already exhausted, but every time you ignore that feeling, you teach yourself that your needs come last, and over time that becomes a habit, a silent exhaustion that no one sees but you carry every day. Simpler. From a deeper perspective, protecting your time and energy is not selfish, it is responsibility. In faith, your life is a trust given to you. Your time is a mana. Your energy is a mana. And you will be questioned about how you use them, where you spent them, and who you allowed to influence them. You are not required to please everyone. You are not obligated to attend everything. You were not meant to carry what was never yours. Even the most righteous were mindful of their time, careful with their words, selective with their company, because they understood that a distracted life leads to a weakened soul. There will be moments when setting boundaries feels uncomfortable. People may not understand your change. Some may even question your intentions, but discomfort is temporary. Losing yourself is far more painful, because when you protect your time, you create space for growth. When you protect your energy, you preserve your peace. When you protect your focus, you strengthen your purpose. And slowly, something begins to shift within you. You feel lighter, you think clearer, you move with intention. Instead of pressure, you stop reacting to everything. You start choosing what truly matters, and the people who respect you will adjust the ones who don't reveal themselves without you needing to ask, because boundaries do not destroy relationships, they reveal the quality of them. And when you finally understand that your time is limited, your energy is sacred, and your peace is priceless, you begin to guard them with a level of discipline that changes the entire direction of your life. Stay confident but humble, because the strongest presence is not the one that tries to prove itself, but the one that doesn't need to confidence is knowing your worth. Humility is remembering who gave it to you. Many people misunderstand confidence. They think it's about speaking louder, showing more, standing above others. But real confidence is quiet. It doesn't compete. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't try to dominate every room it enters. And humility is not weakness. It is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less, while still knowing exactly who you are. There is a powerful balance here. If you have confidence without humility, you become arrogant. If you have humility without confidence, you become invisible. But when both exist together, you become grounded, respected, and deeply attractive. Without trying, you walk into a room Without needing validation, you speak. Without needing approval, you achieve. Without needing to announce it, because your identity is not built on people's opinions. It is built on inner certainty. Simpler. There will be moments when success tempts you to elevate yourself above others, when progress makes you forget where you started, when recognition begins to whisper that you are better than those around you, and in those moments, humility becomes your protection. It reminds you that everything you have, your skills, your opportunities, your growth, is not purely your own doing. It is a blessing, a test, a responsibility. And the moment you begin to take full credit without gratitude, you begin to lose the very thing that made you valuable. At the same time, there will be moments when doubt tries to weaken you, when you question your abilities, when you compare yourself, when you feel like you are not enough. And in those moments, confidence becomes your anchor. It reminds you that you have come far, that you have endured, that you are capable of becoming more. It pushes you forward when fear tries to hold you back. From a deeper perspective, this balance reflects a heart that is aware, a heart that knows its value but stays grateful, a heart that strives for excellence but does not seek superiority over others, because in faith, arrogance is a dangerous weight. It blinds a person, hardens the heart, and distances them from truth, while humility softens the soul, increases wisdom, and brings a person closer to what truly matters. But humility does not mean shrinking yourself to make others comfortable, and confidence does not mean elevating yourself to make others feel small. It means standing firm in who you are while remaining gentle. In how you treat others, there is something deeply powerful about a person who carries themselves with quiet confidence and sincere humility. They don't interrupt to be heard. They don't boast to be seen. They don't compare to feel worthy. Their presence speaks for them. Simpler. And when they succeed, they remain grateful when they fail. They remain grounded when they grow. They remain teachable, because they understand that life is not about proving superiority. It is about becoming better while staying true. And when you live with that mindset, you no longer chase respect. You naturally earn it through the way you carry yourself, the way you treat others, and the way you remain balanced, even when life tries to pull you toward extremes. Most people are afraid of being alone, not because solitude is painful, but because it forces them to face themselves. No distractions, no validation, no noise, just their thoughts, their habits, their reality, and that silence can feel heavy. But within that silence, there is power, because solitude is not emptiness. It is a space for clarity, a space where you begin to understand your own mind. Without influence, a space where your growth is no longer shaped by others, but by your own choices. Simpler. When you constantly surround yourself with people, opinions, and noise, you lose your sense of direction. You start thinking like others, acting like others, chasing what others chase, without ever asking yourself what truly matters to you. But when you step into solitude, something shifts. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You begin to recognize your weaknesses honestly. You begin to see your potential without comparison, and that is where independence begins, not in isolation from the world, but in freedom from depending on it. There will be moments when solitude feels uncomfortable, when the silence becomes too loud, when your mind starts replaying your fears, your regrets, your doubts. And in those moments, most people run back to distractions, but growth lies on the other side of that discomfort. Simpler. Because when you sit with yourself long enough, you start to understand yourself deeply. You begin to fix what is broken, strengthen what is weak, and build habits that are not influenced by temporary emotions. From a deeper perspective, solitude is also a place of connection, not with people, but with your Creator. It is in those quiet moments, away from the noise of the world, that your heart becomes softer, your thoughts become clearer, and your soul becomes more aware. When you stand alone in reflection, when you turn inward, when you seek guidance in silence, you realize that you were never truly alone, and that awareness gives you strength, because independence is not just about doing things on your own. It is about not being emotionally controlled by others. It is about not needing constant approval to feel complete. It is about standing firm in your path, even when no one is walking beside you. Simpler. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you stop chasing the wrong people. When you learn to value your own time, you'll be more likely to say no to things that don't serve your goals. You stop wasting it on what does not matter when you learn to rely on yourself. You stop fearing abandonment, and slowly, a quiet confidence begins to grow within you. You no longer feel empty when you are alone. You feel focused. You feel grounded. You feel in control of your direction. Because you are no longer escaping yourself, you are building yourself. And the person who masters solitude carries a different kind of strength into the world, a strength that does not break under pressure, does not depend on attention, and does not lose itself in the presence of others because they have already faced themselves in silence and turned that silence into power attraction is not something you chase. It's something you become. When you build discipline, control, and self-respect, you won't need to ask for attention anymore. Simpler. Because the right people will notice and the wrong ones will quietly disappear. So don't try to be seen. Become someone worth seeing.